The fluorescent lights from the high ceilings of Apex Core Solutions' office spread a cool glow throughout the expansive workspace. Beyond the floor-to-ceiling glass windows, the bustling tech district of the city flickered in evening light skyscrapers adorned with pulsing red and green lights that resembled a dynamic light show. Inside the open-plan office had no partitions. Rows upon rows of computer monitors stood shoulder to shoulder, each casting a soft emerald luminescence onto the focused faces of IT engineers. The gentle tap of keyboards sounded like raindrops, punctuated by the steady hum of servers stationed in the back, melded with the mechanical hiss of printers and the lingering scent of herbal tea from discarded paper cups. Amid this kinetic atmosphere sat Emily, lead systems architect, leaning back in her worn mesh chair, her eyes trailing across streams of code scrolling down her screen. She had been part of Apex Core Solutions for over 16 years, back when the company was just a small office with 3 desks, a handful of staff, and duct-taped servers crammed into an old metal cabinet. Emily still recalled her first day at the company, clutching an aging laptop, hesitating before hand-assembled hardware racks and undocumented scripts. Yet it was precisely those early challenges that forged the expert she'd become, someone intimately familiar with every module, script, and security protocol. On her desk, a white ceramic mug printed with "World's Best Architect" sat amidst a stack of technical documents and network topology sketches. The mug was a gift from Lucas Harper, the company's founder and former CEO, given during a modest ceremony 3 years ago. Emily had kept that chipped mug as a cherished memento. Each time she brought it to her lips, she'd vividly recall the first company building a dimly lit 2-story structure with faded yellow lights. Her computer displayed a comprehensive operations dashboard. Green indicators signified stable servers, yellow warnings flagged areas requiring monitoring, and urgent red alerts marked mission-critical issues. Below the status line proudly read, "System uptime 99.997%, a figure Emily had maintained for years. She tapped a key combination to delve into detailed logs as a chill from the overhead air conditioning brushed her hand, snapping her out of thoughts about the day ahead. Although the office remained quiet, it buzzed with life. The soft patter of footsteps from the hallway, likely a server room technician, mixed with the alert ping of an internal call. Occasionally, a cluster of young developers erupted in hushed laughter as they tested a new feature for the customer management platform. Some team members hurried back to their desks, clutching paper cups of strong espresso, only to settle and resume work with energized enthusiasm. Emily inhaled deeply, sensing the aroma of fresh paper, the distinct tech dust of the server room, and the lingering scent of herbal tea. She smiled subtly. This was more than an office, it was home to intricate systems, each line of code imbued with the passion of her and her colleagues. From her early days patching infinite loop scripts to prevent network crashes to architecting robust microservices with hundreds of Docker containers running in parallel, Emily had long been the company's technical backbone. She remembered the previous day when preliminary plans for a hybrid cloud migration landed on her desk. Instantly, Emily had mapped out a meticulous roadmap, configuring Kubernetes clusters, segmenting network resources for rapid deployment, ensuring data security across zones. The topology diagrams, failover testing procedures, and emergency rollback scenarios she drafted were stored in a secure folder with access restricted only to those with the highest clearance. That repository was the fruit of 16 years spent gathering experience, experimenting, and refining every component. Behind Emily, racks of routers, switches, and UPS units lined the wall equipment she and her operations team had once wired by hand, meticulously labeled and locked down with management passwords. Status LEDs blinked rhythmically on each device, reflecting off the polished glass tabletop. At the far end of the room, cold yet formidable servers housed customer databases and the automated billing platform. Emily recalled a grid power failure that had once threatened to crash the company. She guided the team through seamless activation of the UPS backup, switching power sources and preventing service disruption for over 15 minutes. These days, she no longer faced frantic 3 a.m. fire drills. Everything had become standardized, automated, and tightly monitored. She trusted the clear alerts on her dashboard, the CI/CD pipelines that constantly validated code quality, and the colleagues she mentored to think like architects, building for fault tolerance and self-healing resiliency. Yet today, something in the air felt different. Emily discerned an extra chill from the vents, a sharper whisper from the server fans. Perhaps she awaited an important announcement, an imminent leadership change at the top. Although accustomed to upgrade rollouts and emergency patches, Emily knew that people above all shaped a company's culture and enduring strength. The clock on the wall read 8:45 a.m. The all-hands meeting would begin at 9:00. Engineers snapped their laptops shut, tidied chairs, and made their way toward the small conference room adjacent. Emily lifted her world's best architect mug, inhaled another whiff of herbal tea, and caught her reflection in a nearby glass partition, offering herself a confident nod. She walked forward with measured steps, carrying the pride of someone who had constructed and safeguarded Apex Core Solutions' digital framework, ready to face whatever change the morning light would bring. That morning, the atmosphere at Apex Core Solutions felt unusually subdued compared to a typical all-hands meeting. The overhead lights still cast their bright white glow, and the string of LED lights on the ceiling continued their soft pulse, but every eye in the room was fixed on the main conference area where a significant announcement was about to be made. Emily, the lead systems architect with over 16 years of experience, sat in the front row with relaxed shoulders and a composed gaze that betrayed a hint of curiosity. She sensed that a leadership revolution was imminent, one that would directly affect her work and status. At precisely 9:00 a.m., the conference room doors swung open. Footsteps echoed briskly as members of the executive team, clutching documents and tablets, filed in and took their seats. Centered atop the room's back wall, the familiar Apex Core Solutions sign had been updated with a tagline, "Leading Technology of Tomorrow." Silence settled over the crowd. Suddenly, a tall, slender man stepped forward under a spotlight, Victor Sterling, the company's founder and chairman. His hair was salt and pepper, his well-tailored black suit projecting authority like armor. He gave a slight bow and spoke in a warm, measured voice. "Good morning, Team Apex Core. Today marks a special milestone. I am proud to announce that my nephew, Mr. Nathan Sterling, will assume the role of Chief Executive Officer effective immediately." Polite applause erupted, then quickly faded into tense silence as Nathan Sterling made his entrance. He was a tall figure clad in a pristine navy blue suit and a deep red tie, clearly designer wear, Emily noted. He carried himself with complete confidence, hands clasped behind his back and a refined smile. Morning light filtered through the windows, glinting off his perfectly coiffed hair. The polite applause resumed, this time with a few cheers from younger developers, more out of curiosity than genuine enthusiasm. Emily remained silent, eyes lowered toward the tablet on her lap, as though engrossed in note-taking. She recalled the first time Nathan had arrived at the office as an intern. Back then, he'd been impeccably dressed in an expensive suit, looking slightly out of place among the sparsely populated workstations. It was Emily who had guided him through a minor SQL bug, accepting his grateful nod and awkward smile. At that moment, she'd judged him an intern with potential, albeit lacking hands-on experience. Now Nathan had become the heir apparent. Victor beamed with pride as he continued, "Nathan has demonstrated strong strategic insight. Still, I know great challenges await us. I place my full trust in his leadership." Nathan stepped up to the podium, cleared his throat, and addressed the room. "Thank you all for being here. I am well aware of the responsibilities this role carries. Together, we will restructure and modernize every facet of our operations, from internal processes to final products. The upcoming changes will position Apex Core as not only a technological leader, but a bastion of efficiency and innovation." Nathan's confident tone resonated through the room, yet Emily perceived an undercurrent of impatience and hubris. He spoke of restructuring complete cloud migration and cutting-edge tech stacks, buzzwords that could electrify the development team or conversely dismantle the stable foundation built over many years. Emily wondered whether he truly understood the company's backbone or was simply parroting executive summaries. She thought of the countless hours she had spent fine-tuning load balancers, patching critical security flaws, and scripting automated monitoring. When Nathan concluded, Victor returned to the stage and handed him a ceremonial keycard symbolizing the formal transfer of power. Nathan accepted it with a nod, then strolled through the room, eyeing each team member. He paused at Emily's desk and offered a polite smile. "Good morning, Ms. Emily. I look forward to your support during this transition." Emily looked up, gave a measured nod, and replied calmly, "Congratulations. I hope we can work well together." Though her tone was pleasant, her mind teemed with questions. Which modules does he not understand? Which terms are mere buzzwords? And how will the exciting changes affect the systems she had nurtured? The meeting adjourned and staff filtered out. Some immediately clustered to discuss Docker Kubernetes and service meshes. Others quietly snapped their laptops shut and returned to their desks. Emily lingered, watching Nathan organize his documents and tuck the keycard into his pocket. She exhaled softly. The buzz of innovation had never thrilled her. She believed stability lay at the heart of progress, and true creativity must be built upon, not bulldozed over existing foundations. Back at her workstation, Emily powered on her console and opened the operations dashboard. Server indicators remained green, but she knew the yellow and red warnings would soon appear more frequently once Nathan kicked off rapid optimization cycles or demanded hasty infrastructure changes. She mentally listed the modules that needed extra protection, the scripts to guard, and the colleagues who would benefit from in-depth briefings on the pending shift. While all eyes were on Nathan, Emily understood deeply that knowledge and experience were the true defense against upheaval. She clicked into her notes and typed a reminder: review every update thoroughly before deployment, protect the core system. Under the soft glow of data center lights, she glanced out the window at the city's pulse traffic, weaving streams of headlights below. She offered herself a gentle smile and resolved, let Nathan test his theories. I'll stand guard at the helm, safeguarding the system until he proves himself worthy. With that, she returned to her work, reviewing logs, auditing scripts, and planning internal training sessions to prepare her team for the changes on the horizon. From the very moment Emily signed her appointment as lead systems architect, she was invited into a small conference room where the head of human resources, Ms. Lin Cao, and the chief financial officer, Mr. Min Tran, awaited her with a thick contract binder. The walnut conference table gleamed under warm lights, each page reflecting a subtle glow, as if daring her to read every clause. Emily recalled the slight tension creeping into her shoulders when Ms. Lin placed a folder stamped top secret before her. Calmly, Ms. Lin said, "You will have a special protective clause in this agreement. Please review it carefully, then sign under acceptance." Emily flipped open to the first page, Appendix A, Emergency Governance Provision enclosed in a bold box. The text described the right to revoke, suspend, or alter any and all administrative privileges, credentials, or integrations controlled by the employee. She paused, pen hovering, and looked up. So this means I can temporarily lock or revoke every privilege I manage if the company dismisses me in breach of contract? Ms. Lin nodded, her expression grave. Exactly. This is your safeguard for your position and expertise. Mr. Bin, the former CEO, wanted to ensure that if any injustice occurs, you won't be left stranded. Ms. Lin continued the explanation. The process works in 2 steps. First, you submit written notice to the board of directors stating that your termination lacks just cause or proper severance. Second, if there is no response or corrective action within 48 hours, you are authorized to trigger the emergency governance protocol within the centralized admin console. Emily nodded slowly, a mix of reassurance and heavy responsibility swelling within her. She alone held this ultimate key. The next section, Appendix B, Conditions and Limitations, meticulously listed the strict criteria to prevent abuse. It only applies in the event of wrongful termination or withheld severance, and does not cover disciplinary action or voluntary resignation. Emily studied each item, fully aware that activating it under the wrong circumstances could expose her to counterclaims of abuse of administrative privilege. Ms. Lin emphasized, only use it when absolutely necessary. It's not a weapon of destruction, but a shield protecting what you've built. On the final page, Appendix C, Restoring Privileges, detailed step-by-step instructions for reinstating every subsystem from locking HR services and timekeeping systems to API payment integrations and internal messaging channels. Emily saw clear directives: draft a remediation commitment, submit to the board, await confirmation, and then execute the restore command on the dashboard. Those dry legal words weighed on her conscience. Properly used, they would safeguard fairness. Misused, they could wreak havoc. When she signed at the bottom on the line marked acceptance, it did more than bind ink to paper. It activated an unseen pact between her expertise and executive authority. With a deep breath to dissipate tension, Emily placed her pen down. Ms. Lin offered an encouraging smile. You deserve this protection. Don't worry, this clause was vetted by legal counsel and the former CEO. Bin, a gentleman with salt and pepper hair, quickly typed an email to the board, marking the emergency governance protocol effective immediately as of her signature. Back at her console, Emily pulled up the digital copy of the contract saved in the secure intranet, verifying appendix codes and date stamps. She reopened the admin console and saw the new emergency governance tab appear in faded gray, awaiting activation. A small note read, "Ready when required. 2-factor authentication mandatory." A fresh sense of confidence surged through her. If she were ever unjustly terminated, she would not stand alone. She alone held the power to restore her rightful position. In subsequent lunch breaks, rumors about Emily's special contract swirled among colleagues. Younger engineers whispered who'd have the power to lock down the entire system. They looked at her with a blend of awe and apprehension. Emily simply smiled, revealing nothing. She understood fully power comes with responsibility, and this clause stood as testament to her irreplaceable mastery. She vowed to use it only as a last resort, and when the time came, she would compel the board, new executives or old, to honor the commitments they signed. Since obtaining her special protective agreement, Emily felt as though she carried an invisible shield strong enough to face any injustice. Yet she also doubled down on proactive measures, implementing more frequent backups, tightening log audits, and training her team to recognize early warning signs. For her, the true protection lay not only in the emergency protocol, but in the everyday vigilance that preserved system integrity. She knew that when triggered, the clause would bring every department to a standstill in moments. Therefore, she resolved to guard the system even in calm waters, not merely in the storm. And so in the days that followed, Emily continued perfecting the architecture, fostering trust among her peers, and quietly preparing for any unforeseeable challenge. She carried herself with serene readiness, secure in the knowledge that her expertise and the contract that honored it would withstand the tests to come. That morning, Emily entered the CEO's office with a calm facade, despite her heart pounding faster than usual. The heavy oak door creaked open, flooding the room with hallway light that highlighted the solemn setting, a dark mahogany table draped over a thick carpet, two high-backed leather chairs facing each other, and behind them shelves of corporate archives. Mounted on the wall behind the desk gleamed the Apex Core Solutions logo in polished metal. Across from her sat Nathan Sterling, the new CEO, arms folded, calm demeanor concealing a firm resolve. Beside him stood Ms. Fuang An, the HR director, face serious, clutching a thick folder labeled Employment Termination Files. The air felt dense, the faint hum of the air conditioner reminding everyone of the looming pressure. Emily placed her briefcase on the desk, lifted her laptop, and met Nathan's gaze with a polite nod. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling. I received the meeting notice and I'm ready." Her voice remained composed, but she reminded herself, "This is the final test for my emergency protection clause." Nathan nodded lightly, his tone growing measured. "Emily, I appreciate your 16 years of service at Apex Core. Since I took over as CEO, the board has reviewed costs and headcounts closely. Certain roles have been flagged as inefficient under our current technology strategy." Ms. An flipped through the file, pointing to the list of positions. "Emily, as lead systems architect, your legacy code components were deemed unable to meet our accelerated release KPIs. The board recommends immediate termination effective today." The words "immediate termination" fell like a verdict. Emily drew a steady breath, maintaining her composure. "Mr. Sterling, is there specific performance data to support this? I've maintained and upgraded the systems as per weekly reports. Our uptime is consistently 99.99%, and incidents are resolved before clients even notice." She angled her laptop so Ms. Ann could see the dashboard showing uptime metrics and monthly patch counts. Nathan frowned slightly, hesitating. "The board wants us to focus exclusively on pure microservices, virtual instances, and cloud-native solutions. They believe that while you are experienced, the volume of legacy code you manage slows our overall pace of innovation." Emily offered a slight smile, eyes sharp. "I understand trends, but those legacy code segments are the backbone that ensures stability during migration. Rapid transitions without adequate testing risk service outages." Nathan fell silent momentarily, then addressed Ms. and implement the new policy immediately. "We reserve the right to terminate under reorganization clauses." Ms. An slid the termination decision sheet across the table. It listed Emily's name, title, and an effective date today for termination without just cause, alongside minimal severance as per labor law. Emily examined the document as though reading a pre-written script. "So I would receive severance under Article 50 of the Labor Code, but in this case, my emergency protection clause still applies, correct?" Ms. Ann blinked, then responded slowly, "I have seen it, but the board argues this situation does not constitute unlawful dismissal. They won't invoke the emergency protocol." Emily exhaled audibly, a glint in her eyes. "According to our signed contract, I need only submit written notice and wait 48 hours. If the board fails to respond or remedy the breach, I will trigger the emergency governance protocol to suspend all access rights." Nathan's confident demeanor faltered as he drummed his fingers. "We'll review this. HR and legal will reassess the situation." Emily closed her laptop carefully, leaning back. "I appreciate that. I also hope it won't come to that." but I must protect my rights and the system's integrity. The meeting adjourned without a pairing of fingers snapping. Emily gathered her bag, gave Nathan and Ms. Ann a cordial nod, and exited the office with measured steps. Inside the elevator, she silently started counting down the 48-hour window each minute, drawing her closer to the decision to activate her protective clause. In her heart, she held an unshakable conviction: knowledge and contract are my power. Now is the time to prove it. Exactly 48 hours after Emily submitted her written notice to the board of directors regarding her wrongful termination with no response or remediation forthcoming, she sat before Apex Core Solutions' central admin console under the cold glow of monitors. The data operations room on the 5th floor was eerily quiet, broken only by the whisper of cooling fans and the soft blinking of system status lights. The wall clock read 10:02 p.m., an ideal hour for an unanticipated emergency operation. Emily locked her workstation and logged in using her unique credentials. The admin dashboard loaded, displaying a matrix of tabs and status bars: Directory Services, Payroll Processing Client, API Gateways, Internal Communications Cluster. All were green, indicating operational. In the lower right, the Emergency Governance Protocol tab appeared grayed out, ready for activation. She paused, inhaling deeply as she recalled Mr. Bean, the former CEO, having instructed, "Use it only when contract justice is violated and no other recourse exists." Adrenaline coursed through her veins, but her hands were steady. She clicked the tab, revealing a confirmation screen. "Are you sure you wish to activate the Emergency Governance Protocol? Core services will be suspended. Final confirmation required with second-factor authentication." Emily entered her 2FA code, watching the confirm button turn from gray to bright red. Without hesitation, she pressed confirm. Instantly, the prompt changed to protocol activated, accompanied by a 3-minute countdown timer, 000300, for automated execution. First minute: lock directory services. Every path to the Active Directory was closed. No new logins, no privilege changes, and scheduled permission scripts paused. The auth requests graph plummeted from 1,500 transactions, minute to 0. First alert. The monitoring center lit up with connection refused alerts from authentication servers. Network control LEDs blinked red on the switch panels. Second minute. Revoke payroll module. Emily issued the revoke roles command for the payroll system. The dashboard read, "Revoke successful payroll module locked." This halted salary disbursements and froze employee finance reports. Domino effect: HR specialists calling to run payroll and auto-generated thank you emails, all returned service unavailable. A system SMS to Emily flashed, "Payroll service disabled pending resolution." Third minute. Disable client API gateways. She clicked Disable API tokens. Instantaneously, hundreds of customer connections failed. Mobile apps and web portals returned HTTP 503 service. Unavailable errors, shut down internal messaging. Finally, Emily selected Disable Messaging Cluster. Chat servers, email relays, even the office coffee bot went silent. The message queue length graph fell from thousands of pending messages to 0, and all services offline strobed ominously in red. The entire dashboard turned crimson. A bold notification appeared. All emergency protocol actions executed successfully. Systems are now in standstill mode. Emily clicked log out and stood up, satisfaction gleaming in her eyes. She knew that from this point on, Apex Core Solutions would be fully contingent on negotiating with her to restore service. No young CEO, even the current Aaron Lane, could ignore her demands and maintain operations. Meanwhile, departments across the company reacted in shock. HR department. A system SMS alerted Tran Mai, the HR director. Emergency governance protocol activated. Payroll and authentication services disabled. Mai immediately called Emily only to receive an automated reply. System is in lockdown. Please consult your email for instructions. IT operations. The O&M team scrambled as their monitoring screens flooded with errors. All access attempts were denied. Servers stayed up, but nobody could interact with them. Team lead Lam attempted to convene an emergency remote meeting, but found all remote desktop connections refused. Guys, our privileges are completely locked out. Sales and support. Field sales reps encountered blank screens when attempting to retrieve client records on their tablets. The customer support hub was inundated with system unavailable auto responses. Customers received automated emails stating, "Our services are temporarily suspended due to contract enforcement actions." Back in her own office, Emily sat at her personal workstation, opening the mitigation and governance contract folder to review the precise clauses. She drafted a formal notice to the board of directors demanding acknowledgement of wrongful termination, official apology and restitution, system restoration upon compliance. Though this was her final recourse, Emily remained methodical. She enabled detailed logging capturing the exact activation timestamps and technical parameters. She also composed an email to Mr. Eric Blake, the board chair, notifying him that she awaited their written response before lifting the lockdown. That night, most office lights dimmed out, only the data operations room glowed red with alerts. Emily Rose walked to the window and gazed at the city lights. With her eyes closed, she affirmed silently, "This isn't just about my rights. It's proof of the power of expertise and contractual commitment. I may have locked down the systems, but until they honor the terms, I will remind them of the critical importance of professional value." Thus began the first chapter of a legal and technical standoff between Emily and Apex Core Solutions, centered on an emergency protocol she had meticulously crafted over 16 years of dedicated service. The moment Emily activated the emergency governance protocol, unexpected repercussions cascaded throughout Apex Core Solutions. In the data operations room, red error LEDs blinked furiously, and the main dashboard declared all services offline, striking the O&M team like a bolt of lightning. Lam, head of operations and maintenance, rushed to the main console and typed a reboot command only to receive an access denied response. His face turned ashen as he stammered, "Can anyone access anything authentication payroll CRM? It's all paralyzed." In human resources, Ms. Lin Cao, the HR director, struggled to maintain composure while her phone flooded with alerts. Payroll service disabled authentication. Locked messaging cluster down. She immediately opened an email from Emily detailing the activated clause and recovery instructions. Sighing, she dialed Emily. "I've received your contract notice. I'll escalate to the board right away," but Emily's line forwarded to voicemail, "Emily is currently unavailable. Please send an email." In finance, Mr. Sang Nguyen, the newly appointed CFO, grew pale as his accounting interface displayed unable to process payroll batch and vendor payments suspended. Numerous supplier invoices were now overdue. He urgently called the chief accountant MyCheck payroll module immediately. "Will this affect end-of-month payroll? Suppliers could halt services at any moment," the accountant replied in a strained voice. "I've tried everything, but the dashboard is completely unresponsive. I can't generate any payment vouchers." The fallout extended beyond internal chaos. Clients and partners quickly sensed the technological earthquake. Sales began receiving frantic calls from agents and corporate customers. "Why can't I access the portal? Invoices won't load, and I get 503 service unavailable." Hang, the head of sales, split her team into 2-1 to field calls, the other to send apology emails with any available fallback links. Still, clients fumed, "We've lost hours of productivity. Fix this now." Meanwhile, customer support bore immense pressure as the internal chat system collapsed. Agents resorted to dialing individual technician mobile numbers for assistance, causing delays and communication breakdowns. The support manager announced over a speakerphone, "Use personal phones for now. Log every issue. We'll tackle them once systems are restored." At the executive level, the board and senior management convened an emergency meeting in the dead of night. Ms. Mai Tran, the board chair, studied the CIO's incident report, "Core infrastructure locked by emergency protocol" at 10:02 p.m. Aaron Lane, the CEO, turned pale, muttering, "This can't be happening." Board members clicked through risk assessments estimating preliminary financial damage at hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour of downtime. Lane phoned the in-house counsel, prepare emergency legal measures, and negotiate with Emily immediately. Meanwhile, marketing scrambled to manage the PR fallout internally and externally. Internal bulletins circulated, "Apex Core experiencing system-wide outage due to emergency protocol activation," sparking staff anxiety about job security. Social media buzzed with rumors Apex Core brought down by a rogue engineer. Tech blogs published sensational headlines. Key architect strikes back at inexperienced CEO, shaking the company's reputation. In the marketing hub, Thao, the marketing director, drafted a press release. Apex Core Solutions is temporarily enacting safeguards in accordance with an emergency clause in our senior engineer's contract. We are in active discussions to restore all services as swiftly as possible. The statement was distributed to media outlets and clients overnight, accompanied by a FAQ explaining the emergency clause in employment agreements. Back in data operations, after half an hour of paralysis, a dedicated backup team attempted to spin up isolated backup systems, only to learn from the backup engineer, "We lack the elevated privileges. Backups are locked under the same protocol." Lamb shook his head in frustration. "Even backups are locked out." In her office, Emily sat serenely at her desk, reopening her governance contract and reviewing each recovery stipulation. The clock read 12:30 a.m. She composed an email to the board and the executive committee summarizing the company's ongoing suffering and listing conditions for deactivating the protocol. Acknowledge wrongful termination. Issue an official apology to all staff and publicly to the board. Provide full severance and back pay for Emily and her team. Commit not to repeat similar contract breaches. She attached screenshots of the dashboard and time-stamped logs to prove accurate protocol activation. Hitting send, she savored the potent sense of authority. Now they must choose honor the contract or remain offline. Moments later, the phone in Ms. Mai Tran's office rang. It was Emily's email alert. Mai furrowed her brow and called out, "Aaron, emergency meeting at 1:00 a.m. Now every decision hinged on that employment clause. Pressure from revenue losses, public perception, and employee morale pressed heavily on the leadership team. Within a few short hours, Apex Core Solutions plunged into a comprehensive crisis. Internal operations halted, financial processes, frozen, client relations disrupted, and public trust shaken. All systems awaited the fulfillment of contractual commitments. Emily, the architect behind the protocol, watched calmly as the negotiation that would decide the company's fate unfolded around her. The next morning, the boardroom at Apex Core Solutions bristled with tension. At its head stood Diane Pham, the board chair, with a steely gaze fixed on Emily as she entered. Beside Diane sat Derek Hoang, the newly appointed CEO, looking unsettled in his light gray suit, worry lines etched into his forehead. Around the polished conference table, other board members CFO Min Tran, HR Director Trang Lei, and CTO Quang Pham arranged laptops, shuffled documents, and prepared the meeting microphones. Emily offered a polite nod and took her seat in the high-backed leather chair. She placed her laptop on the table, already displaying the system restoration request email she'd sent overnight. Without preamble, Diane gave her the floor. Emily, thank you for arriving on time. We have reviewed your request. Before we dive into specifics, please restate your position. Adjusting her posture, Emily scanned the room before speaking. Good morning, Diane, and esteemed board members. Upon activating the emergency governance protocol last night, Apex Corp's core infrastructure was placed in lockdown. I have attached a detailed incident report, time-stamped logs, the volume of blocked transactions, and affected modules. This measure enforces 3 critical clauses in my employment contract: acknowledgement of wrongful termination, issuance of a formal apology to all staff and the board, payment of severance and accrued salary for me and my team. She clicked to share her screen, revealing a chart marked 00214, protocol activated, and subsequent rows of red-locked statuses. Continuing, she said, I request no amendments beyond the original contract. I have not deleted data or altered code, only paused services to ensure legal and professional obligations are met. I propose that if within the next 24 hours the board formally acknowledges and fulfills these 3 conditions, I will immediately restore all systems. Derek Hoang furrowed his brow and tapped his pen against the table. Emily, we recognize your rights, but the company has suffered significant damage. Client complaints, threatened vendor suspensions, and shareholder concerns about stability. Can the board convene and issue a binding resolution within 24 hours? Emily responded evenly. The 24-hour window underscores the urgency and good faith. A remote emergency meeting can be arranged via video call immediately. I will lift the protocol upon receipt of written confirmation from the board that includes a resolution acknowledging wrongful termination, a signed apology from the board chair and CEO, a detailed payment schedule for severance and salary. Diane interjected, voice measured but firm. We must minimize client impact. Could you consider allowing partial restoration, enabling payroll and authentication first, then gradually CRM and messaging? Emily shook her head gently. I appreciate the operational concerns. However, the contract stipulates an all-or-nothing restoration. If I restore piecemeal, the board might indefinitely delay fulfilling the full agreement. I insist on the complete restoration once the terms are met. Min Tran, the CFO, leaned forward, tone taut. Emily, the total severance and accrued salary for you and your team strains our cash flow. We need to negotiate the severance amount and payment timeline. She offered a small shrug. The severance amount corresponds exactly to the contract 3 months' pay, plus accrued salary through termination. Payment is due within 7 days of your decision. Any deviation undermines the legal agreement. Trang Lei, the HR director, spoke up next, attempting a compromise. We value your professionalism. To expedite resolution, the board suggests reducing severance to 2 months instead of 3 with a 14-day payment window. Emily met her gaze unwavering. Reducing severance violates the contract. I urge the board to honor the agreed terms. I wish to avoid prolonging this negotiation to spare further losses to the company and other employees. A tense silence fell before Diane nodded. Very well. We will draft a resolution acknowledging the wrongful termination and prepare a formal apology by noon. Regarding severance, the board agrees to honor 3 months' payment and will disperse funds within 7 days. You can expect the official documents by 2 p.m. Emily allowed herself a slight smile and inclined her head. Thank you. I will await the official documentation. Upon receipt, I will proceed with restoring the infrastructure. The meeting concluded with standing handshakes. Emily captured a quick screenshot of the board's preliminary commitment, emailed moments earlier, then departed the room with assured strides. As she walked the corridor, she reflected, "This outcome proves the power of expertise and contract law. Apex Core will resume operations, and I will uphold my team's integrity." That afternoon, precisely at 2:00 p.m., Emily received an email from Apex Core Solutions' legal office titled System Restoration Approval Documents. Attached were 3 definitive documents. Board resolution signed by Diane Pham, the board chair, officially acknowledging that Emily's termination was wrongful. Formal apology electronically signed by Derek Huang, the CEO, addressed to all staff. "We sincerely apologize for the disruption caused by the unlawful termination of Ms. Emily. Payment plan issued by Min Tran, the CFO, committing to pay 3 months severance plus accrued salary within 7 days, along with a detailed disbursement schedule." Emily carefully reviewed each page, her eyes skimming the clauses before clicking download. A wave of satisfaction washed over her. Her expertise and contractual rights had been fully honored. She typed a brief reply, "Dear Apex Core Leadership, thank you for honoring your commitments. I will proceed with system restoration immediately. Sincerely, Emily." 2:07 p.m., back at the admin dashboard. Emily logged in and navigated to the Emergency Governance Protocol tab. The Restore All Services button illuminated, shifting from gray to bright green. She closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and clicked Confirm Restore. The interface displayed restoration initiated, ETA 5:00. 2:08 p.m., Phase 1 HRN Authentication. Unlock Directory Services. Active Directory Services came back online with status indicators flicking to healthy. Staff could log in and adjust permissions as before. Unlock Payroll Module. The payroll application resumed with a banner reading, "Payroll processing resumed. No data loss." 2:11 p.m. Phase 2, Client APIs and CRM. Enable Client API Gateways. All customer API tokens were reinstated. Web portals and mobile apps shifted from HTTP 503 errors to accessibility. Automated emails were dispatched. Our services have been fully restored. We apologize for any inconvenience. Enable CRM integrations. The Customer Relationship Management System reconnected seamlessly, empowering the sales team with instant access to client data. 2:20 p.m. Phase 3, Internal Messaging and Automation. Enable Messaging Cluster. Internal chat servers, email relays, and automated notification bots reactivated. Pending messages began to flow, and colleagues messaged each other. All good system is back. Re-enable Coffee Bot. The office coffee machine bot resumed its music cue, signaling coffee service restored. 2:23 p.m. The dashboard status bars all turned bright green with the caption, "All systems operational, 100%. Emily clicked log out and announced over a speakerphone, "System restoration complete." A chorus of applause erupted across the data operations floor. Moments later in the council room, Diane, Derek, and the board members gathered for a confirmation video conference with Emily. Diane spoke first. "Emily, we thank you profoundly. Your actions prevented a prolonged disaster. We would be honored if you would consider returning to your role." Emily returned a gracious smile. "Thank you for the offer. I am proud of my contributions, but I feel it is time for a new chapter." She shared her screen showing her newly formed consultancy agreement, M Consulting Group, with the mission building, resilient infrastructures, and empowering engineers through robust contracts. Derek looked surprised. "You intend to leave the company?" She nodded. "I will be the CTO and partner at M Consulting. Apex Core can contract my services under a retainer model. I believe my expertise can guide you through the upcoming restructuring. Diane's expression softened. We welcome that. Congratulations on your new venture, M Consulting. Apex Core will always value your legacy. Within days, M Consulting Group signed a service agreement with Apex Core to lead their hybrid cloud migration project under a fixed-fee engagement and clear payment milestones. Emily assembled a team of former colleagues, training them on emergency governance clauses and secure authorization protocols. About 1 week later, Emily returned to the office one final time. She carried the chipped mug labeled World's Best Architect, placing it atop her empty workstation, along with a handwritten thank you card for her teammates. Colleagues gathered for a farewell photo, exchanging hugs and well wishes. Before descending the stairs for good, Emily paused on the 5th-floor landing. She gazed out at the city skyline she had monitored through countless uptime dashboards and midnight crisis calls. Smiling to herself, she whispered, "A new journey begins here." Then, with head held high and heart full of pride for her expertise, the power of contracts and unyielding forward momentum, she stepped into the elevator and into her next adventure. Since departing Apex Core Solutions, Emily embarked on a vibrant new journey under her own brand, M Consulting Group. It quickly became her pride and passion, a platform where she leveraged 16 years of top-tier system architecture and operational experience to help other companies safeguard their engineers' professional value through robust contractual protections. On a crisp Monday morning, Emily arrived at her cozy office, tucked inside a co-working hub near downtown. Her workspace, a glass-walled room overlooking lush balcony greenery, served as both conference room and personal office. It featured a long oak table, several upholstered chairs, a bookshelf brimming with technical manuals and contract templates. Prominently displayed on the desk was her chipped mug reading World's Best Architect beside a nameplate M Consulting Group, CEO and founder Emily. That first day, she welcomed 5 engineers from her former team at Apex Core, longtime collaborators, now eager to join her new venture. Tung, a DevOps specialist with extensive AWS expertise. Mai, a security engineer skilled in penetration testing. Hui, a back-end developer proficient in Go and Kubernetes. Ling, a DataOps engineer building CI/CD pipelines. Fuok, a NetOps expert managing complex network topologies. They gathered around the table as Emily unveiled her vision. M Consulting will not only build resilient infrastructures, but also empower engineers to understand and defend their professional rights. We'll focus on 3 core pillars: system architecture consulting engineer, contract training, and emergency protocol implementation support. First, in system architecture consulting, M Consulting developed a comprehensive evaluation checklist for clients' infrastructures. It covered network segmentation requirements, identity and access management IAM policies, and backup, talk, restore procedures, each paired with risk metrics. DevOps and NetOps specialists collaborated closely to design reference architectures with multi-zone high availability and automatic failover. Second, a pillar close to Emily's heart was engineer contract training. She crafted a workshop on the emergency governance clause, explaining its purpose and guiding participants through drafting contract appendices. The inaugural session drew practitioners from diverse industries, from fintech startups to energy conglomerates. Emily led attendees through real-world scenarios, demonstrating how to issue a formal notice, observe waiting periods, and execute technical lockdown scripts. Participating engineers engaged eagerly, debating feasibility and legal considerations. Third, emergency protocol implementation support became M Consulting's standout premium service. Clients opting for this package received 24/7 monitoring by M Consulting's team, ready to simulate emergency scenarios. Junior engineers were trained in automation playbooks using Ansible and Terraform to lock down resources while understanding the ethical responsibilities of deploying such protocols strictly per contractual terms. Within 3 months, M Consulting had secured consulting engagements with 5 major clients: a digital bank, a logistics provider, and an e-commerce platform. Each engagement included an legal ops for engineers workshop and an emergency protocol simulation. Client satisfaction surveys reported a 98% approval rating for the contract templates and emergency drills, with 90% pledging to integrate similar clauses into their internal engineering agreements. Beyond client work, Emily dedicated time to thought leadership, maintaining an active technical blog and publishing the ebook Emergency Governance Protecting Engineers in the 4.0 Era. Synthesizing ancient insights from Hanfei alongside contemporary corporate case studies, the book included sample contract appendices and HR integration guides. Widely shared on LinkedIn and GitHub, the ebook cemented M Consulting as an authority in DevSecOps and legal tech. On a personal level, Emily balanced a flexible routine: mornings at the office, afternoons in global client calls, and evenings as a guest on the popular Tech and Law podcast discussing contract automation trends. Weekends found her practicing yoga or running along the Riverside Park, essential rituals to recharge for the week ahead. 1 year after founding M Consulting, the team had grown to 12, adding an in-house legal ops department of 2 IT-savvy lawyers and a marketing team crafting online training content. Their next major project involved a multinational pharmaceutical giant migrating to a multi-cloud environment with self-healing infrastructure and policy as code governance. M Consulting's logo now adorned partner sites alongside AWS, Azure, and HashiCorp badges. Throughout this new chapter, Emily transitioned from a technical architect to a visionary, blending engineering with legal precision, pioneering a sustainable model for future engineers. She firmly believed that in an age of automation and AI, human expertise, deep specialization, and ethical commitment must be protected by both code and sharp legal frameworks. Thus, M Consulting's journey continues under the banner Empowering Engineers, Safeguarding Expertise, extending its mission across industries and geographies. Throughout her journey from a systems engineer to the founder of her own consultancy, Emily distilled 10 essential lessons. These principles are both philosophical and highly practical, applicable to engineers and tech leaders alike. 1. Expertise is an invaluable asset. Deep accumulated expertise isn't just a tool for daily tasks, it forms the bedrock of negotiating power and self-protection. Emily demonstrated that when one's technical knowledge and real-world experience become irreplaceable, any hasty decision by management must be carefully weighed. 2. Legal contracts as protective shields. What often seems like a standard employment agreement can become a living document through well-crafted emergency clauses. By leveraging her emergency governance clause, Emily ensured that in cases of wrongful termination or non-payment, she had the means to reverse the situation. This underscores the importance of proactively negotiating and safeguarding one's own contract. 3. Respect and recognition of labor value. Self-worth and feeling valued foster loyalty within an organization. When Ms. Du, the board chair, and Mr. Kiet, the new CEO, acknowledged their mistake and issued a formal apology, it went beyond legal compliance. It affirmed that people, the company's greatest asset, deserve recognition and respect. 4. The power of preparation. Emily never waited for a crisis to build her playbooks and automation scripts. Over 16 years, she meticulously refined documentation, automated processes, and rehearsed emergency scenarios. When the moment arrived, her preparedness allowed her to trigger the protocol in minutes, catching the leadership off guard. 5. Maintain stability. Before innovation, technology transformations demand a balance between preserving stability and adopting new solutions. Emily warned against a wholesale purge of legacy code without adequate testing, as it risks service disruption. Innovation must be built on a stable foundation with incremental rollouts and proper validation. 6. Lead with expertise and ethics. Effective leadership in tech requires both subject matter mastery and ethical responsibility. During emergency drills with clients, Consulting trained engineers on lockdown scripts while reinforcing ethical boundaries, activating protocols only when contractual terms permit. Technical safeguards must always be coupled with ethical commitments to prevent misuse. 7. Integrate engineering and legal disciplines. In the DevSecOps era, engineering and legal considerations increasingly overlap. Emily proved the efficacy of combining DevOps practitioners with legal ops professionals. When these disciplines operate in tandem, organizations gain robust architectures alongside protective contractual frameworks. 8. Inspire and build community. Emily's open-source ebook, public workshops, and tech and law podcast appearances positioned Consulting as a field authority. The lesson is that true leadership transcends paying clients. It involves inspiring the broader community and raising collective awareness for shared progress. 9. Maintain flexibility and mental well-being. High-powered careers carry significant stress. Emily balanced intense work with regular running yoga and flexible scheduling. This upkeep of her physical and mental health enabled clear decisions during late-night protocol activations and high-stakes negotiations. 10. Forward-looking innovation. After leaving Apex Core, Consulting didn't stall on its initial offerings. The firm expanded into hybrid cloud strategies, self-healing systems, and policy as code governance. Emily constantly asked what's next and swiftly rolled out new training and services. The key lesson: maintain an innovation mindset and continuous learning to stay ahead of obsolescence. These core lessons, forged through real-world trial and error, guide anyone in the tech field to appreciate the dual importance of technical mastery and proactive rights protection, cultivate a culture of accountability, and pursue sustainable growth.